heard you wanna. I heard you wanna chat with your girl. Chat with your girl. Chat with your girl. Chat. Business and beauty, come and confess how you make your money and say yes to the gas.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Today I have the drag queen icon. She's the winner of season 8, Bob the Drag Queen.
She. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, icon. I feel like we're just passing out icon status at this point. I mean, I'm way too young, way too fresh-faced and young to be an icon.
You're so Gen Z now. Like, for those of you listening that don't know who Bob the Drag Queen is, you are a comedy well-rounded queen, and you are one of the hosts of HBO's We're Here, which is so amazing. You also have a podcast with your sister Monet Exchange, Sibling Rivalry, which I was a guest on. Plug if you guys haven't heard it. So funny, so hilarious, siblings through and through. And this podcast, Say Yas to the Gas, is all about success, and I want to break it down for the kids how the fuck you are still killing it. And it was your 5-year anniversary since winning the $100,000.
I won Drag Race 5 years ago, which feels like forever. It feels like more than 5 years. I also want to talk to you about your experience on Sibling Rivalry, because guests who aren't close friends with me and Monet sometimes have a hard time because me and Monet are so ridiculous, and a big part of our podcast is us bickering and arguing and like steamrolling over people. So I just feel bad for our guests. I'm always like, welcome to the madness, girl.
I was so about it, and I was like, do I act a little bit more off the cuff, or do I be business, corporate, professional queen? I just don't know in this day and age now, because I haven't been out in the world. And I think the last time Patrick Star was seen was very what Candy Muse interpreted. But now I've had since then have had
that Candy Muse, not that hot dogs and big dicks. RuPaul, hot dogs and dicks. Also, congrats on that movie, that little spot, that spot in that movie. That was so cool.
Thank you, mainstream. It was so crazy. We shot that pre-quarantine, and I'm like, it's finally out.
You look good. You look
so
so
cool.
good when you turned. I was like,
very that
work.
My 2 seconds. My 2 seconds. Today, I want to talk to you about how Drag Race really changed your life, because we did a bunch of digging and researching, and you went through the trenches before obtaining the status of Bob the Drag Queen. So can you walk us through like a snapshot of your life? I heard you grew up around drag queens. You were collecting doll hairs off the shows, and mom had a drag show situation.
Okay, so I'm from Georgia, and my mom used to own a drag bar called Sensations in Columbus, Georgia, years ago. It was my mom and a bunch of other queer people who got together and opened up a drag bar. You know, I used to like work the bar. I used to collect money at the door when my mom couldn't get a babysitter, and I would like sit in the shadows so I could see with my hands so they would know I was a kid, like collecting money and counting it. So that was the beginning of my journey with drag, although I never really did any drag, and I didn't get to go in and see the shows. I was outside of the club, and I could only go into the club during the daytime when my mom was like cleaning it and stuff. And then of course growing up watching like Tu Wong Fu, and I have a queer uncle. I'm not the only queer in my family. I also have a queer uncle who introduced me to, like, you know, through living, not like personally walked around and showed me drag and stuff, but I used to like hide in his room and like watch Tu Wong Fu because he had the VHS. And then by the time I ended up in making my way to New York City, Drag Race had come out, and I just saw one episode and I was like, I'm gonna give that a shot. Like, I'm gonna fucking try it. And that was basically my journey. And you know, and then 7 years later I ended up on Drag Race, and here I am 12 years after that, still, you know, Bob the Drag Queen, you know.
From most drag queens that I've seen, there are super special people like you and Monet only drag queens that I've had so far on the podcast that have obtained a level of relevance past the show and have expanded on the show. Like, HBO is huge. Like, to have a show, I watched the very first episode, and I just remember being in such awe of having drag queens seen through a different lens and be so human to those podunk towns that y'all were visiting and making these people over. If you guys haven't checked it out, can you tell us a little bit about We're Here, for those that may not know what that is?
So We're Here is like a real life TV show. I mean, I don't even think it's fair to call it a reality show. It's a docu-series, if anything, where Shangela and Eureka and I all go into these towns, small towns, typically less than 30,000 people, sometimes as low as 8,000 people. We've been to Farmington, New Mexico, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We've been to Spartanburg, South Carolina. We went to Shiprock, New Mexico, like all these places. And then we work with mainly queer people in these towns to uplift their voices, to magnify them, to put them in their rightful space as like, community builders and community leaders in their towns. And we get to tell their stories. We've had people who were like struggling with their queer identity. We were able to show this amazing episode in Farmington about the indigenous population of Farmington, New Mexico. We've been able to tell stories about trans people, queer women, non-binary people. Like, I'm really proud of the work we do on the show.
For anyone listening that is an aspiring drag queen that wants to be the next Bob, to have their own show, a successful podcast, and be making coin. Oh, I was talking to my producer, Des, about this. And your iconic entrance line, walking to the room purse first.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that line, and I'm like, you know what? Bob is still getting her fucking bag purse first. And it's just so crazy. And I'm like, I need to fucking talk to her because like, I see you on my For You page stitching, being like outspoken, like you're just like that bitch. And I'm like, how does she still have it? Is it comedy? Is it like just your imagination? Like, what the fuck is it? Because there's like winners, but then there are winners that are just winners, but you have so much beyond that in terms of like your shows that you have, like your comedy, now your fucking TikToks. You have like over 1 million followers on TikTok and Instagram, and you've been through it. So I'm like trying to break down like how.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know that I have the guide. I just know that I do the things that I really love doing, and I try to do them with a lot of integrity. That's really important to me. Like, I try to do the things that I'm doing with a lot of integrity, especially making sure that I really love it. Even if it comes to like promoting a thing on my podcast or on my Instagram page, or if it comes down to, being a part of a TV show. Like when I did We're Here, I told them, I said, if We're Here is going to be a bunch of queers going into town and like, making over straight people and telling them they're valid, I don't want to do it. But if it's going to be uplifting queer voices and marginalized people, then I would like to be a part of it. And that was what it was. I just got offered a role in some UK movie that I can't say what it was, but I remember thinking to myself, like, this seems problematic, and it was good money and it was a decent role, but I was like, this script is problematic, and I can see why someone would just be like, yes, sign me up instantly. But do I want to contribute to that narrative? And the answer is no,
Yeah, same. I think just recently I turned down a reality show just now, and it's like, so I was like, fuck, like do I stay or do I just leave it? And I decided to pass on that opportunity because it wasn't like I was playing it out in my head. I have no control of the edit, and being a YouTuber, I was like, I'm not trying to anyone to spill tea. The beauty community is already through it. I'm one of the
y'all
last.
are some messy hoes in the beauty community.
If anyone knows messy, it's you and the drag community as well. So y'all are beauty community adjacent, bitch. Y'all are just as transformative. Y'all are just as fucking messy. Y'all are just, I mean, like, dare I say Tamisha, and what the fuck you done started on social media, bitch? You push the buttons, but it's just so funny because it's just so you. Like, you're that sibling that gets the other siblings in trouble and they get the blame. Like, you were that bitch.
Well, I always say this, to quote Joanne the Scammer, I'm a messy bitch who lives for drama. And sometimes I'm like, ooh, child, this was messy. And there are times where it gets way messier than I ever planned. And I was like, oh my God, this got out of control. I was just trying to have a little mess. This got wild. And the Tamisha Monet thing got so crazy because it really stemmed from Monet being like, I don't like your shoes. And then it became like, I'm going to publicly eviscerate Monet Exchange on YouTube Live. And I was like, y'all, I don't even know what and then it started going down between Monet. I don't know why people attack Monet. I would say, if anything, I thought I would be the one that people would come after. But they always end up coming after my sis Monet. And I am very into defending Monet. She is my best friend, and I will fight for her, and I have fought for her when I think she's right. If I think she's wrong, I also won't, I'm not going to stand up for her if she's fully wrong. But in the situation where she's not done anything wrong, I'm like, I'm not gonna allow that, you know?
It's just so funny because it's like your demeanor is so much more cemented, and Monet is just this emotional like being, and she's just very much that cushiony like type of
Yeah.
girl. So I feel like she's very much like that pretty punching bag that people just love to toss around.
Yeah, I think it is. I think they think that she's like that she's gonna be easy target, but like, bitch, I'm there too. Like, I'm right next to her, so like, it's not gonna be. You're not gonna get away with it with Monet because I'm gonna also be there, being like, oh, you want to talk shit? Let's get it popping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I've seen when you stitch people and check them on TikTok, and it's just like your demeanor when you're like bald, no makeup, like calling out a bitch. You're very stoic, and when you like try to check a bitch, and when I look at Monet, and when she's mad, she smiles. She's like, "No, I didn't. No, why
Yeah.
would I say? Why would I say?" She's has much very that
And
kind of look.
sometimes whenever I'm on TikTok, I'll like call out some sort of like problematic behavior, like especially like cis straight guys are the ones that I'm usually being like, it's not this. Like there was this guy on TikTok who was like, I only know that you're like a man or a woman. That's it, and that's the rest. That's the whole story. And I was like, let's talk about why what you just said was really problematic. And then I ended up like going live with him. I actually end up like I often like reach out to people. Like I always tell folks, if you do not want me to use your number, don't give it to me. Because I will call you, and not just for like drama. I mean, I call people to like have fun as well. But like, I ended up like DMing this guy, being like, if you ever want to actually talk about why I feel like what you said is really hurtful and problematic, then I'd be more than happy to do so. But like, I'm always really ready and willing to talk to somebody. Like always.
Mm-hmm. Well, now that that social media, everyone is hypersensitive. There's mental health, and you come from a generation where you could just say anything, no unfiltered. Do you have a publicist? Who do you check with in terms of like what you say? Is it right, or is it just an internal conversation with yourself?
Well, I have a publicist, but I don't have like a PR department, and it's usually me checking my own moral compass between me, my friends, my mentors, my partners, and then if I'm wrong, I'll admit. And there have been times when I've been, because I did come from a generation where part of our drag was saying whatever you wanted and being subversive and intentionally being offensive. And I don't do a lot of that anymore. And when I did do it, it was like part of the thing. And then whenever someone's like, "Didn't you once say?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did say that," and I don't stand by that anymore. I've changed. I don't feel that way anymore. Unless it's like a roast. I mean, I think roasts are a whole different thing because you kind of enter a level of consent where people on stage and in the audience are consenting to hearing particularly vile humor. But that's just my thoughts on roast in general. It is like a consent to be nasty as hell. Whereas in my day-to-day life and in my stand-up comedy on stage, I tend to make it less targeted.
With your success today, I have, it's so funny in talking to you today. When I signed up to do One Size Beauty, I had to explain to everyone I'm not just an influencer. I'm very strategic in terms of like my planning, my strategy, and that comes from my alter ego B.O.B. I also call myself Bob behind the scenes. And it's so funny that I'm talking to you because your name is Bob, but my alter ego Bob stands for best of business. Whenever it comes to business, I always stand for what'll be best for the entire organization. Not a lot of people know that, and I think a lot of people assume that influencers follow their instinct or their heart. But for me, it's more now it's more logic than love and a feeling. And so I wanted to ask you, because it's been a theme this week on hiring people. Do you follow a vibe of a person when you're hiring somebody or when you work with somebody, or do you follow the responsibility and the role because that's how much the salary is for that person?
Yeah, I'm not a vibe person. Me and Monet had a whole thing about how I think vibe is such an annoying word. I'm not like, what are we all just feeling? I'm very pragmatic, and I'm like, the duties are A, B, and C. Can you perform all those duties? It's not like me being like, I just feel like we're good friends and like I just like you and we just kind of like flow together. So let's make it work, Mary. Well, something that people know about me is I discuss money up front and immediately because I don't want to be in a job and then like we're all just kind of like feeling, how much do you think I should pay? How much do you think? What do you think? What do you think? I'm like, I need this much money, and that's the end of the story. Like, or someone saying you need to pay me this much money, and then from there we can decide whether or not we can work together. So I'm very much kind of, when it comes, especially when it comes to business, like by the numbers and stuff. And also not just when it comes to business, when it comes to like social stuff too. I mean, there are social aspects to life that have a lot to do with feelings. But when it comes to irrefutable facts, I'm like, I'm not going to let you come in here and try to dominate with buzzwords like vibe and mood and that kind of stuff.
It's so funny because we were taking a snapshot of your bio, and I'm like, this bitch is a Cancer. So I wonder if she's gonna go with the feeling and the vibes of it all.
Is that a Cancer thing? I don't know much about the zodiac. So when I was younger, my mom was like really into the zodiac, and then like one day she's like got really religious and was like, it's witchcraft. We can't do zodiacs anymore. So she threw away all of our zodiac books, and I was like, whatever. Well, I guess now we're not. So I don't know much about this. All I know is that I'm a Cancer. My mom's a Scorpio. My brother's a Capricorn. But I don't know. I know that Scorpios are like apparently like kind of bitey and like feisty, and apparently Cancers are like maternal and like
emotional.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
I am emotional. I have all the emotions that a human being would have. So I am emotional. I do cry. I get angry. So I don't want to insinuate that I am lacking emotion, because I do have all the emotions. You know what I mean? But I am. That being said, in the same breath, I am pragmatic.
It's so funny because when Monet was on the podcast, she had said, I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing. I had done this, and Bob really put her foot down and said, this is what the fuck you have to do. This is how the business works. And I was like, that's interesting. I want to talk to Bob because I want to see how the girls get it done, because y'all get your bag purse first. And so
a big part of me and Monet. So this is the thing. So when I called Monet up 3 years ago, I was like, I want to do a podcast. I've always loved podcasts. Like, if you're a person who does makeup, there's no better company than a podcast while doing your makeup. I listen to Feast of Fun. I listen to This American Life. I listen to Say Yas, the guest. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Serial, S-Town, all these things. And I was like, Monet, we should do a podcast. So I was like, we're going to do this Patreon. So there was a point where Monet was very much kind of like, I don't know, she just wasn't giving the podcast like what I thought was like the due it deserved. And I was like, Monet, if we put our energy into this podcast and our Patreon, we will yield that. We will reap what we sow in regards to what we put into this podcast. And now I'm very happy to say that we have almost 20,000 patrons. Like, we have one of the biggest Patreon pages on Patreon. It's I cannot believe, and 20,000 patrons is a lot of people. Most people have like 1,500, 5,000. It is massive. And I think it's because me and Monet are really adamant about giving people what they signed up for. Like, we give them great quality content and access to us, and we realize that we're the product. Like, that's the most important thing. We are the product. It's nice to have like fluff and bells and whistles, but they really are here to see me and Monet do our thing.
What's the best way in terms of when you just said we give the people what they want? Like, do you look on Instagram? Is it comments? Is it emails, DMs? Like, how do you study the consumers that have the demand for you to supply? Like, where do you look to get that data?
Well, I mean, part of it starts with the comments. There are a lot of comments being like, I just love, so the thing is, Monet and I bicker a lot. And I'm telling you right now, we do not put it on. You probably saw a little bit of it before we started filming. Like, we literally talk to each other like that. It's not an act. It is not for the cameras. It's just how we communicate. But it is through love. And so Monet and I, we try not to filter ourselves, because it is, you tend to want to change your personality for cameras. Being from reality TV, I've been on several reality TV shows. I've been on Last Comic Standing, America's Got Talent. I've done We're Here. I had a show called Drag My Dad, and of course RuPaul's Drag Race. But I'm also realizing that what they're loving about me is the authentic part of me. That's what people are clinging to. The part of me that's authentic. So I'm just celebrating my authenticity with Monet on each podcast. So a part of it is the comments and people like responding, and also seeing what content they respond to. Like, people tend to really go ham for me and Monet talking about our about race relations and about our upbringing as Black queer people. And it happens to be that me and Monet really love talking about that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that you're the last species of authenticity and being unfiltered? Because I feel like the girls that are coming up, like the look queens on Drag Race, I'm just seeing like a shift in how filtered and processed.
I'm not like the last of my kind or anything. I think there are people who do it. There are a lot of people going Drag Race and they are afraid of being perceived by the fans a certain way. So then they try to produce their own show. Now you can't produce a show that you're not a producer on. So you're trying to produce your own thing, but now they're getting some phony bullshit because you're presenting it in a phony way. Like I feel like Got Mick and Candy were so authentic on the show. Like they were really being their real selves, I've known Candy for a few years, and I've met Got Mick, and that really is how she is. Like she's goofy and fun, and Candy is like aggressive, but also loves to laugh, and is also really open with their emotions. So I think there are still girls, but the fear of retaliation from the fans is real and warranted, by the way, because these fans be doing some dumb shit. Like the bullying they did of Brita Filter, I will never forget. It was so hard to watch as a friend of Brita Filter who's known Brita for years. Watching them bully her to the point of contemplating self-harm was insane. I remember thinking to myself, what the hell's going on? What day is it that this is where we are and that people feel like this is okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, when I had interviewed and done makeup for Pia Wurtzbach, Miss Universe, she said when you win, that as soon as you get that crown, you are whisked away to another hotel room. They pack your stuff. You know, there's like 4 to a suite, like 4 queens, you know, to a suite of Miss Universe. And then when you win, you have to meet a psychologist to make sure that everything that's to come, like you can deal with, like in your country. And she said, like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Do you think that should be a thing for the drag girls?
Why would they wait until after you win? Bitch, I got the
Right?
crown now. It's too late. I don't give a fuck. I can't handle this shit, bitch. I'm fucked up. Y'all shouldn't have gave me this crown. No, I think that not just for the winners, but everyone involved in the Drag Race, in my opinion, needs counseling afterwards, needs aftercare, especially people who are involved in some sort of controversy or drama on the show, be it an argument or a fight or something, because the fans pick sides and they're nasty. There was someone sent a message that if I see you on the subway platform, I'm going to push you in front of the train. That shit will scare you.
Right.
And rightfully so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that was my fear too, because when I was offered a reality TV show, I was like, I have no control. You know, some people were saying, like friends of mine were like, oh, you can behave on the show. But I was like, I'm only motherfucking Patrick Star from like 12 to 9.
Yeah.
Not 24 hours in a fucking house. We were all to live in a house, you know, in the next few weeks or month in June. And I was like, I don't know if I can fucking do this. And on top of that, I don't edit. I'm away from like my safe space. I already have a following. I have a brand. Like I'm too scared to step away and to get the retaliation based on how I'm produced or edited. And I might need fucking therapy after this.
Yeah. And I would say Drag Race is a different beast of a reality show. First of all, Drag Race has the largest television-based subreddit. There's no subreddit that's TV based that is bigger than RuPaul's Drag Race. It surpassed Game of Thrones. Drag Race is also the most decorated reality TV show of all time. No reality shows ever won more Emmys than Drag Race. It is a behemoth of a machine. It is the Game of Thrones of reality TV. It's huge. It's won Best Reality, like, I think 5 years in a row now. RuPaul's won Best Host, I think 6 years. RuPaul has the world record for winning the same Emmy the most times. Like, it is, and the fan base be on some other shit. But they also lift us up. They do things like they allow Bianca Del Rio to sell out Wembley Theatre in London. She can sell 13,000 seats in a theater, but they can also bring someone to their knees and consider self-harm. They can also boost up like Trixie Mattel and give her like, you know, have her sell out of her red lipstick in 3 hours, and it's just fucking red lipstick. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they can, you know, have someone want to delete their social media.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, like, this is a personal question from me because you drag queens put so much time and visibility to your chosen identity as the drag queen. And for me, it's like Patrick Star. I've put in 8 years of my life into Patrick Star. That's almost like a decade. And I think now, like, I've been taking time for like myself to do what I want. So do you find it harder to stay in tune with your own birth given identity at times? Like, how do you guys navigate that balance? Because sometimes I feel like in this past year I've been so frustrated. I'm like, I'm not giving Patrick Samandak time, and I need to fucking give myself motherfucking time because Patrick Star done took over my fucking life.
I'm glad you asked that. I would remember seeing this with Katy Perry. Do you remember Katy Perry released that whole thing? She was like, Catherine Hudson is being crushed by Katy Perry. I do not have a drag persona. I have a nickname and I have work clothes. Like, I don't change who I am. I don't change my opinions. I don't change my personality. I have a nickname and I have work clothes. Whenever the cameras go down, Monet still calls me Bob. And that's how I function. Now, I know there are some people like Bendela Creme and Varla Jean Merman and, queens who do have completely separate personas from themselves. So once you end up creating 2 lives, you end up having to live 2 lives. You end up having to live 2 entire lives. And for me, that's impossible. I don't have the bandwidth to live 2 lives. I already have 2 partners, and that shit's stressful enough as it is. You know what I mean? So I even see drag queens who say they have like a separate persona, but really they're just compartmentalizing their own identity behind the guise of a nickname. You know what I mean? So I just find it's easier for me to just be authentic and operate under the nickname Bob. My real name is Caldwell. And, my partners call me Caldwell. Pretty much everyone else in life calls me Bob. Now, I will say there are moments where I do feel like my job is affecting my relationships with people. But I don't blame it on this person, Bob the drag queen, because I'm in full control of everything that Bob does. I'm in control of everything I do. It's not running off the rails. It's not escaping me. I'm the one who signs the contracts. I'm the one who agrees to do the stuff. And sometimes it does get overwhelming. And I will, talk to my mom, who's like, I don't see you a lot. And I'm like, I apologize. And you're right. And I'm going to try to, narrow it back. But it seems to me like a scapegoat when you create this other persona and be like, it's them. It's not me. It's Bob. It's like a ventriloquist who has the puppet that says nasty shit. And they're like, ooh, I cannot believe she said that. But like, bitch, you said that. You said that. Don't act like your puppet started talking without you.
What you said that affects your relationships, I would assume that is it time away from your relationships that affects those relationships that you have?
So, for example, me and my partners want to hang out sometime, but like Jacob just went to go visit his parents in Philly, but I couldn't go because I was at work. I was filming We're Here. And, Ezra's planning a trip to Mexico to visit his family. And I can't go because I'm working. You know what I mean? Or we'll want to do things. I'm like, well, I have a podcast and an interview and then talking to my lawyers and then I have to go to the bank. So I'm sorry. But I am trying to get better at carving out chunks. What's really hard on people is when I ask them to talk to my assistant to schedule something. It really offends people. It offends people to be like, it's because I double schedule myself a lot. Even friends are like, will you be on my podcast? I'm like, I would love to, but you're going to have to email assistant@bobthedragqueen.com. And they're like, but I've known you for years. I'm like, bitch, that doesn't matter. Do you want me on your podcast? Do you want it to actually happen? This is the process. This is the process. And sometimes people get mad and I'm like, well, you called me and asked me to be in your podcast. I didn't call you and beg you to be in your podcast. Like when we reach, granted, you and I aren't like friends or anything, but when we reached out to you to be on our podcast and you tell us what the parameters are, whether we're best friends or if we saw each other once at Target, I have to respect your process to get you on my podcast.
Right. If anything, your friends should respect, like, damn, this bitch got a full on business.
But don't your friends be acting messy. Your friends are
friends to understand the level of production that it takes to get on there. And there are some people that, are not there that don't understand like the protocol, because it's not like a bar gig where you can just pay me to show up. Like I really have an order of operations in managing the Patrick Star business.
Exactly. When your friend's like, can I get some one size? Bitch, take your ass to Sephora. You know where it is. You know where it is. It's at Sephora. Go pick up. I have some ones. Those fucking makeup wipes are everything. Your setting spray slays the game. So like y'all know. I mean the remover stuff. I'm like, y'all know what the deal is. Like, go out and support me. If you're supporting me, then support me. If I give you free stuff, great. Also, it's the other way around too. Friends sometimes give you free stuff and you don't use it, and I'd be like, bitch, I didn't ask you for that. They'd be like, girl, you didn't promote it. I'd be like, I didn't ask you to send me your fucking stuff. I mean, thank you. I'm grateful, but you did not send it to me with a preconceived notion of what I do. You conditionalized it without my consent. If you want to send me a press package, I am so grateful. If I use it, it is up to me. Unless you get a branded deal with me, I may or may not post what you send me. And that's on per.
Mic drop. Do you have any words of advice for queens on the come up? I mean, whether they're on Drag Race or not, and how can they sustain a successful brand like Bob the Drag Queen?
The best advice I always give is this. It sounds like weird advice, but whenever someone gives you advice, consider the source. Everyone's going to give you advice. Look at that person and say, do I want to be like you? Do I want to end up where you're at? And if you do not want to end up like that person, do not take their fucking advice. Because you're going to end up just the fuck like them. You know what I mean? If some messy bitch is telling you how to stay out of drama, but she stay up in drama, don't listen to her. If some broke bitch tell you how to make money, but she a broke bitch, don't listen to her. If some bitch who stay canceled every weekend tell you how to get canceled, don't fucking listen to her. She's messy and she doesn't know what she's talking about. So whenever anyone gives you advice, always consider the source.
Okay, well, my source is Bob the Drag Queen, HBO show, 20,000 Patreon, successful reality queen, comedy show sold out, bitch is getting her bag. She's too busy to spend time with her partners and her mom. What the fuck advice do you have for the girls that want to be in your place making money?
I will say this. First of all, do it only if you love it. You have, I know that everyone says that, you really have to love it, because even when you love it, it still feels like work. So if you don't like it, bitch, it is going to be a rough day at work. Like, it can't be a means to an end. If you want to be a drag queen to be famous, that's not a good reason to be a drag queen. If you want to be a YouTuber to be famous, that's not a good reason to be a YouTuber. Now, if you want to be a YouTuber because you love makeup and you want to share your love of makeup, that is a good reason to do it. If you want to be a drag queen because you love performing and you want to make people laugh, that is a good reason to do it. And if you're really good at it and if things line up properly and you meet the right people at the right time and you do the right thing at the right time, then maybe the fame and the money will come. Maybe. You know what I mean? But you really have to love it. You cannot. I know people who want to get on Drag Race so they can be famous. I got on Drag Race because I loved the show and I wanted to win it. It was not because I wanted to be famous. It was because it's my favorite fucking TV show. And I was like, I want to be my favorite show. So because I loved it so much, it ended up really working out for me. Even if I hadn't won, I still think it would have worked out for me, you know?
By the way, I was in the audience when you won.
I know, I saw that clip of you. Because didn't the camera pan over to you at one point?
Yeah. Crazy. And really quick, when you say that you love it, for you personally, like, is it in the pre-planning? Is it before it happens? Is it when you're doing it? Or do you get the sensation after? Because for me, I get the emotion when it's all said and done. For me.
Yeah. My favorite part of performing is being on stage, like connecting with someone, like being able to like tell a joke and then knowing that the audience is going to laugh when I want them to laugh, or gasp when I want them to gasp. I've been a live performer since I was in high school, and I've always loved live performance. When it comes to podcasting, for me, it is the making of the podcast. When I'm like, we're doing something, me and Monet, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be such a fucking good episode. And then it is like, once it's released, like reading comments and watching people enjoy it and hearing people say, wow, I am a Black non-binary queer person. And to have someone on my screen saying my ideas, like speaking, it's a reflection of me. Being able to be someone's reflection means so much to me, because I know how much it meant to me to see, Whoopi Goldberg looking back at me on TV, and I said to myself, that's me on TV right now. When I saw Ghost, I was like, I saw Sister Act, I said, I cannot believe I'm looking back at myself. This woman who was called ugly and called this and called that, being the fucking toast of the town. She was Hollywood's fucking prime fucking person. And I was like, wow. And it was also BB Zahara Benet on season 1 of Drag Race, seeing a black, AMAB, feminine person on TV being told that all those things that I thought were my detriment were actually really great things. Because BB Zahara Benet was not being told that she was great despite being black and African and feminine and gay. She was like, you're great because you're black and you're African and you're feminine and you're queer. That's why you're great, actually.
Sickening. Well, you are the grand
Just like
dom
my
of
waist
blackness.
during quarantine, thickening.
thickening, always thickening. We have a little segment called "Doing the Most." Are you ready to play?
Let's do the most.
Doing the most, bitch.
Who do you think is doing the most
In life right now, in general,
in life? Yeah, anyone.
who is doing? Janet Mock is doing the most right now. And I'll
Yes?
let y'all look it up if y'all want. I don't know if y'all heard about Janet Mock and her breakdown at the speech. Janet Mock is doing the most right now, like in a way of atonement, and also like there's a lot going on with her. I hope that she gets everything that she atones with herself and the people that she feels like. I really hope so.
Yes, love her. What means the most to you?
For me, what means the most is loving myself. And I know that sounds crazy, but RuPaul says that you cannot love other people unless you love yourself. You cannot love other people if you do not know how to love yourself. And if you do, it's not real, it's superficial, it's fake. For me, I can't speak for y'all listening at home, but for me, loving myself, taking care of myself, keeping myself sober is my number one priority.
I just saw a quote this morning right before we filmed, and it says, "Loving myself isn't vanity, it's sanity."
There it is.
100%.
There it is. And y'all, I know it sounds selfish. You have to love yourself above other people. You have to. No one else is going to do that for you. If you can't give yourself unconditional love, you're not going to get it from anywhere. You're not going to get it. And if you think your love is unconditional, you don't want to test it because you'll find out it ain't. You know what I mean?
When were you the most messy?
When I was drinking, I've been sober for almost 13 years now. And back when I was a drunk and doing drugs and drinking, I was a nightmare person. Like, I would go to bed and wake up and everyone would be mad at me. My bed was broken. Things around the house were ruined. And like I would wake up with enemies.
Well, that's tea. I've been sober for now 1 month. So.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Thank you. What is the most expensive thing you have?
My condo, maybe. I just bought a condo in Hollywood, and I guess my home is the most, but that's pretty standard. Do you mean like besides my home?
No, that could be the answer. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. I'm the first person in my family to own land, which is wild to me.
Wow.
And I'm just so excited that when I die, my niece and nephew will have something to fight over.
Love it. Well, thank you, Bob, the drag queen, on coming and slaying words of wisdom on Say Yes to the Guests. You are so successful. I'm actually coming into this. I was so fucking scared and intimidated because you're just off the cuff. And I'm like, I don't know if she's gonna get down with the advice and the mother because she thinks she's Gen Z, but she's really experienced. But
No,
I'm so
I
happy.
know I'm not Gen Z. I just love TikTok. I know I'm an old ass millennial. I just love this.
Yes. Well, you're so special, and I'm so honored that have been able to get advice from the legend, from the source, Bob the Drag Queen. Please follow Bob at Bob the Drag Queen on all social media, and make sure to check out his podcast, Sibling Rivalry. Check out We're Here, any other gigs and coins she needs, and coming up, and shows and things.
Well, I just DM'd you my number. Thank you so much for having me. It's really been an honor to be. And I want to say right now, like, I really think you're truly iconic. I really think that what you're doing for people of color in the YouTube space, which is huge. Like, there was a period of time where people were really shitting on YouTube, and like, look at you now. Like, I mean, the word influencer used to have like a stink on it, but now people are begging to be influencers. And I think it is because of what you're doing. It's because of stuff that you do. It's stuff that you've done with your career, the fact that you have your amazing makeup by the way. It is really fucking good makeup. Out in these stores means a lot. And you put so much work into your artistry, into your promo work. It is not slapped together. It is not haberdash. It is great shit. So you're fucking fierce. And also, I still want you to tell Brett Maroc I said what's up.
I will.
Brett
I
better
will.
stop posting these thirst trappy ass fucking TikToks. I can't deal with it. It's too much for me.
Not people trying to flirt with you on a TikTok and you commenting, I'm flattered. Bitch, I saw that. I saw that,
Wow.
bitch. Some cute little TikTok boy trying to get your attention of Bob the Drag Queen season. Blah, 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 blah. She's, yep, passing your number out like hotcakes on an IHOP Sunday, bitch. Very that.
Who wants some dick? Everyone can have some dick today. You get some dick. You get some dick.
Thank you, Bob.
My pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Say Yes to the Guest. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast and follow at Say Yes to the Guest on all social platforms. Remember, you are successful. Now go out and be the bad bitch you truly are. Can't wait to chat with you next time. Bye.